Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, today's guest contacted me saying he found it very interesting how on this show we create awareness for technology and not just in the way of highlighting sexy new devices. And he thanked me for highlighting how technology is helping to change industries. And I'm a sucker for a compliment, but this is the second message that I've received this week on this same subject. And I think it's really highlighting that people want more from technology than just another iPhone or a Samsung smartphone. And after recording over 700 interviews, I've learned that everything happens for a reason. And as this podcast gets beamed to you all over the world, many of you will be spending together as a family. And there will be 3 to 4 generations all under one roof. But take a look around. The senior members of your family will not be staring down at a device. They'll be living in the moment. But equally, do they feel that they're missing out? This got me thinking because I've seen that we're all caught up in this digital world where our lives are being made easier by using tech solutions from everything from banking to even entering a doctor's surgery. But what about the older generation that have not been used to tech? And even if they are and they want to learn, the equipment is simply not suitable because it's not designed for them. And I think there's a danger of them being left behind. And it must be incredibly daunting and maybe even scary living in a tech-obsessed world that you know nothing about and don't know how it works. These are just a few reasons why I invited Scott from GrandPad on the show today. And GrandPad for me is a great example of how technology works best when it brings people together. And it's also transforming how older people, and when I say this I mean 75 plus, are actually staying connected with their family and their friends. So yes, it is Christmas and most of us are enjoying family time. But if you want a good example of how technology really does work best when it brings people together, I implore you to listen to today's episode and watch the video that accompanies today's show over on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. Go to podcasts and you'll find it there. But enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Minneapolis so we can speak with GrandPad CEO and co-founder Scott Lien, who will tell us all about GrandPad. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Scott. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Neil. And I'm the CEO and co-founder of GrandPad. And what I love to do is build teams that love solving complicated problems that have not been solved before. So that's things like 11 years ago when I was CIO of Bank of America, I was part of the online banking team. And we were really one of the first big banks in the U.S. to figure out how to do mobile banking on this new gadget that had just come out called the iPhone. And of course, that all seems really old hat and easy and passé for us all now. But at the time, that was kind of a big breakthrough. That and you recall people were pretty concerned, like, is this really secure? And so doing that in a simple and secure way was a big deal at the time. And so now the last 5 years. At GrandPad, we have been focused on reconnecting this awesome group of people we lovingly call super seniors, those over the age of 75, and reconnecting them with their family, friends, and caregivers in a simple, safe, and secure way. It really unlocks and really makes some great things happen that we can talk more about. But it's all about tackling hard design, engineering, customer service challenges that we're focused on to kind of make that dream come true. So that's what I do.
Well, we are living in a digital world now, a digital mobile first world now. And I often think that the older generation and seniors often must feel completely left behind where they're stranded in this world where everyone's obsessed with tech. It makes their lives easier, but they know nothing about how it works because they were not brought up with it. So I love the concept behind GrandPad and this simple and secure tablet computer aimed at older seniors. But just for people tuning in right now that have never heard of it, can you just set the scene and tell the listeners a little bit more about precisely what GrandPad is and also the problems that you set out to solve?
Absolutely. So if you just look at it, it kind of looks like an iPad. It's an 8-inch tablet form factor, but that's really where the similarities end. It's completely different than what we call standard technology out there, because this is a hardware, software, and service-based solution that was built from the ground up for this audience. So we worked with people 80, 90, 100 years old. The oldest person that kind of helped us on the testing and development was a beautiful soul called Anna, actually from Minnesota here, and she was 114 years old. And so what we did was spend time with these awesome people, and we observed all the challenges that they have with standard technology like iPads. And we learned that so many things, and these are the things that really make us different from standard technology and make it work so well for them. So it's simple things like, okay, let's make sure everything on the screen is plenty big so that I can easily see it if I have some eyesight issues, right? Many of this age group does have eyesight challenges, could be macular degeneration or other things like that. So we completely redesigned a user interface for this group. Second is many of this age group have dexterity issues, might be arthritis. So how the swiping and the different gestures, some of the gesturing now on some of the smartphones is quite complicated, pinch and zoom and all these things. So we really looked at that. And we also learned that people over the age of 95 oftentimes have their skin is different than that of us, younger people. I'm 53. And their skin properties are different. Skin tends to be drier and just kind of a different texture. Standard touch screens often do not work with this age group. So can you imagine if you're sitting there at Christmas and everyone's passing around the iPad and looking at all the beautiful pictures of the kids and grandkids, and you pass it over to mom who's 95, and she touches the screen and wants to swipe to the next picture, and nothing happens. It just it makes her feel bad, makes her feel like, how come it works for everybody else and it doesn't work for me? We learned that through observation. We've actually changed. So we work with our hardware partner, who is Acer, one of the top 5 hardware manufacturers in the world. And we redesigned some of the basic things of that. So there's dozens of features like that make GrandPad work wonderfully for this age group. And one of those pillars is the customer care. At the touch of a button, the seniors are connected with our awesome customer care folks we call Member Experience. They're based here in Minnesota and Iowa in the U.S. and in Ireland in Europe. And you talk to a lovely person who's just enjoys working with seniors and helping them, and they can help them through that question. So they're always there. So it's that design and focusing on the needs of the senior that we did that make it work so well and lets them reconnect.
I love how you've actually invested time with older people to understand the exact problems that they're having with standard tech and tablets such as an iPad, for example. But I think it's also worth highlighting that it is more than a product. It's actually a service, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it's a monthly subscription, and with that, you get the hardware, all the software, and the service. And the service includes things like that 24/7 by 365 customer care we talked about. Push a button and someone's there who can help you. They're not in a hurry. You don't have to go through one of those VRUs, press 6 to do this, 7 to tuck that. A wonderful human being answers. It includes music. So, there's an infinite amount of music out there on the internet if you can find it. And then, you've got to pay to download it and so on. That's a big hurdle. We include the music as part of the monthly service. And everything is there. It's all the old stuff, all the new stuff, 32 million songs right there. It includes content. It includes the data connectivity. So many seniors do not have Wi-Fi, broadband internet in their home, or if they do, those Wi-Fi passwords can be challenging. So ours includes, as part of that subscription, the 4G LTE data connectivity. So if they're at home, it works. If they're at church, it works. Or if the doctor, it works, just like our phone. And then there's not a single password that they have to worry about. So, yeah, absolutely. It's that service, and just make it easy, and we take care of it.
I've got to ask, I'm quite curious here. I mean, what inspired GrandPad, and what's the story behind the success with this tablet for seniors? Because there's got to be some kind of story here to what led you to this part.
Yeah, like many entrepreneurs and founders, it was a personal need and personal problem that we saw in my family. And My mom at the time was 75 years old. And she, like 50% of this age group, had some pretty significant hearing loss. So it was impossible for her to talk on the phone any longer. I live in California, and she lived here in the Midwest of the U.S. in Iowa. So we were more than 2,000 miles apart. And it had gotten to the point where we could pretty much not communicate on the phone due to her hearing loss. So we tried to do Skype video calls on her computer, and that worked for a while. But as her capabilities diminished, Skype and all the pop-ups and viruses and all the buttons that you might have on a desktop PC really started to be a struggle for her. And it frustrated her that she couldn't do it. It made her feel bad. And so that's when we said, well, gosh, there's got to be a better way. My son, who's also a product designer, he was the one that really said, "Hey, Dad, I think we can come up with a better solution." After we'd scoured the market and found nothing was there that met our needs, we started from scratch, and it was out of that need to just stay connected with my mom and his grandma, and off we went. One of our first test units after we did a prototype, and we put it out there with my mom and my mother-in-law, who's 86. And then one of our neighbors who was 90, and they all were over the moon. They loved it. Our neighbor who was 90 had never used a smartphone, computer, desktop, never had just kind of said, well, the world's passed me by. I'll never get to do that. And once they played with it, they said, you can't take this. I want to keep it. They loved it. So that's what inspired us, and off we went. And that was 5 years ago. And now we've got thousands and thousands of people around the world who just absolutely love it, and it's a way for them to stay connected to their family.
I love how you're using sophisticated technology to bring this vision of a simplified, ultimate user-friendly tablet. But what is your secret sauce, do you think, that makes GrandPad so special, in your eyes in particular, because it was born from your own personal needs? So what makes it so special, do you think?
Yeah, I think if I had to sum it up in one word, it's design with a capital D. And what I mean by that is, some people, when they say design, they think about user interface design, like we're going to make a great UI. And yes, that's important. But for us, capital D design means the entire user experience. From the first moment they even hear your company's name and kind of think like, wow, this is something I need to investigate, all the way through when they stop using the product, that whole experience. And so for us, that design, capital D design, includes the packaging. Okay, so again, I love Apple products. Their boxes, like if you buy an iPad or iPhone, the box is absolutely beautiful to look at. But we've tested this box with super seniors, and specifically with someone who's 90. Many 90-year-olds will have some dexterity challenges, with their fingers, no fault of theirs, arthritis and so on. It's nearly impossible for them to get an iPad out of the box and get it going, as many standard technology. So we redesigned the box. And our design goal is what we call the 90-90 design goal, that a 90-year-old can love and use our product within 90 seconds. That means the box better be easy to open, no fussing with it, no plastic things to cut through or anything, or little twisties to untie. You're up and running. And the things are preloaded, it's all ready to go. So that design, and that permeates all the way through, especially into our customer care. And that's part of our secret sauce. Customer care, where at any moment they can press the red help button on their GrandPad and it rings straight through. Our goal is to answer that. A human being will answer the phone within 15 seconds. And there's no menus, VRUs, press 6 to talk to this guy. Talk to a great human being who's going to help them through and take all the time in the world they need. So that's designing a great customer experience all the way through from beginning to end is really our secret sauce and what we focus on.
Now, when I was researching you guys at GrandPad, I came across a video which I'll add to the blog post that accompanies this episode just so everyone can see it, but which basically shows your youngest employee to your oldest, who is a 104-year-old. I think her name was Elmer Thill. Can you share the key message of that video and also the one common thread that you noticed between these two generations that are decades apart?
Yeah, I hope everyone has a chance to watch that. Elmer is 104. He is our oldest employee. He is fantastic. He's the most beautiful, vibrant soul I think I've ever met. He has the distinction of being the oldest active clarinet player in the world. He's still in a band and they actively play, and he's just wonderful. And so in this video, you'll see him and several other of our young employees who are in their teens and 20s and talking about the holiday season and what is meaningful to them in the holiday season. And the key message that comes out is this kind of what we call simple joys are meant to be shared. And it's all about memories. And, when we ask people whether they're young or old, like, what do you remember about Christmas and the holiday season? It's not the presents or, oh, I got this cool toy when I was 5. It was being with family and the experience, these just vibrant memories that we all have. And it might be having grandma's cookies or being around the tree and singing or what have you. It's those family memories of being together that always stand out with the young and the old. And so that's what we're focused on, of capturing those memories and letting those be shared between the generations. And, I think one of the neat things that we've learned is as people get into their 80s, 90s, and 100s, and they're looking back at their life, it's the memories of their family that stand out. And they love to see those pictures of the kids and grandkids, and in Elmer's case, great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, that they can look back. That's their legacy. And so we want to capture those memories and make it easy to share.
So how does GrandPad work, and how easy is it to get it up and running as soon as it's out of the box? I mean, you mentioned earlier the problems with standard technology, and it can be very confusing to set up out of the box. But can you tell me how to get up and running with GrandPad?
Yeah, absolutely. We obsess about making that really easy for people. And so it's as simple as going to our website, grandpad.net. You can learn about it there. You click on the buy button, and we'll happily send one to you. And again, it's very easy. We send it straight to the seniors, and it's all meant that they can very easily take it out of the box and up and running. It's sold here in the U.S. at 1,800 Target stores everywhere. You can walk into the store and get it. And the way that it works is that, so let's take my example. So if I, Scott, am going to give it to my mother-in-law, Joan, who's 86, I can buy it online. It's shipped straight to her. When she gets it, it's already all set up for her just based on my order. So when I order it, it says, hey, this is my mother-in-law, Joan, and I'm connected to her. Me, I'm considered the family admin. I then can invite in the other members of my family into what we call the private circle of trust. Okay, so I can invite my brother, my sister, the grandkids, my uncle, and it usually on average is 10 or 20 people in that immediate core family that are all connected to each other, and in this case connected to Grandma Joan. And that private circle of trust means the bad guys can't get in. The bad guys cannot send an email to Grandma Joan, only the people in the circle of trust. The bad guys cannot call her on the GrandPad. It's, because it's a fully functioning phone. Only the people in the circle of trust. They can't video call her. So it creates great sense of security because Grandma knows that when the GrandPad rings, it's someone in her family. If she gets an email there, it's someone in her family. So they get it in the mail. It's all set up. I use a free companion app on my iPhone or Android phone. I can snap pictures just kind of like Facebook or Instagram. I can post that picture, and then in this case, Grandma Joan and other members of the family will see the picture. We can share it, pictures, videos, do video calls. Joan can listen to music. She can play games. She can check the weather. We have a safe, simple internet browser that's got a lot of extra security features. So, that's how it works. And it's just a monthly subscription, and all the data connectivity, all the music, all the customer care is all included. So it's really easy to get started.
And is that available outside the US at the moment, or?
Yeah. So we are just starting to gradually launch across Europe. As I mentioned, we've just set up our office there in Ireland. So it will be coming soon in across Europe, but available in the U.S. now everywhere for the seniors. But one important point is, so it's focused because it's got the data connectivity, and here in the U.S., we work with the U.S. Data providers like T-Mobile, like Verizon. But the companions, of course, the kids and grandkids, they can live anywhere in the world. We've got users, in 35 countries now around the world. So wherever the kids and grandkids are, they can use it. They download the companion app out of the Apple, iTunes App Store or out of Google Play, and they connect with the senior, and off they go.
So where do you go from here with GrandPad? Is it all about expansion across the world, or do you think the product will continue to evolve with the more feedback that you're getting?
Yeah, absolutely, both. Our goal is to reach millions and millions of seniors all across the world. And I think that's something that we've also learned as we've traveled around the world, and we've done pilots in a number of parts of the world, including Switzerland, Portugal, Taiwan. What we learned is, although there's differences maybe in language and accent and, food choice and so on, the core parts of a family are similar around the world. The families want to be connected. They want to share. They love the wisdom that elders bring as the really true wise ones in the family. And like my grandma lived to be 99 as the matriarch of the family. So there's so much that's common across the world. So that is number one priority, make this available to people around the world. But the second point, it absolutely will continue to evolve and expand. And one of my sayings is you got to innovate or die, right? You've got to keep growing and changing. The world is very different. So what GrandPad looks like 10 years from now will be very different than what it looks like today. We're already on our third generation product, and it will keep evolving. And the future is exciting, and we're helping make it happen.
Well, before I let you go, could I just ask that you remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online, and also maybe even reach out and contact a member of your team if we've got any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Absolutely. So the easiest thing to do is just go to grandpad.net. grandpad.net. And from there, you can see everything about the product. There's lots of videos of us and appearances that we've had. If it's of interest, you can click the big orange Buy Now button, and that will take you through the whole buying process. Or as I mentioned, here in the U.S., it's available at 1,800 Target stores across the country, so it's everywhere. Of course, we're on social media as well. But you can see all that on our website across the bottom, all the social media places that we hang out as well. So, and there's also an 800 number right at the top of our webpage that people can call anytime, 800-704-9412. And you can chat with one of our awesome member experience folks.
Well, here we are right in the middle of the holiday period, and it's one of the few times in the year where everybody gets that valuable family time. And I think anyone that's been spending time with their family and there's multiple generations in one room, they'll look around and everyone's face down looking into devices, and equally there'll be many seniors scratching their heads with disbelief and with that obsession with technology, but equally many probably feel incredibly left out. So I love how you've taken this sophisticated technology to bring your vision of a simplified, ultimate user-friendly tablet and actually involving them and making a part of that conversation too. I think it's a beautiful concept, it really is. So a big thank you for sharing that story with me today.
Thank you so much, Neil, for having me on your show.
This Christmas, I'm sure you've all seen your parents and your grandparents shake their head in disbelief with that entire family's obsession with technology. Throw in asking Amazon's Alexa a few questions, and they might even say, "What is this sorcery?" Because while Amazon, Google and Apple are marketing certain products for seniors, they're missing the mark when it comes to design. And GrandPad's team of engineers are mentored by older adults. They're talking directly with their audience. So the product is actually designed appropriately for those suffering with, whether it be cognitive impairment, hearing loss, dry fingertips, and so many other areas. And these are just a few of the issues that adults encounter with age. So like I've said a couple of times in this episode, for me, today's show epitomised why technology works best when it brings people together. And that's got to be so much more valuable than another Samsung and another iPhone, hasn't it? What are your thoughts? Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, or visit my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. Now, I cannot thank you enough for spending just a little time with me today. But if you are in a room with your elderly parents or grandparents and spending quality family time together, don't forget to put that device down and give them a big hug. because that's what this life's all about. That's what the holiday season is all about. So thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.